in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns had their first padded practice today. One notable absence, though, was quarterback Kenny Pickett, who sustained a hamstring injury on Saturday. Head coach Kevin Stefanski on how he's splitting up the QB reps.
He's been getting so many of the first-team reps. Do those all go to Joe? Do you divide them by 2 or 3, or how?
It really depends on the period and what we're trying to get accomplished in there, but Joe would get the majority of them.
And how does this then trickle down to Dylan and Shedeur? Does it mean a lot more work with the ones for Dylan and maybe some 2s for Shedeur?
Yeah, a little bit of both, Mary Kay. I think it's really dependent on the period, what we're trying to accomplish in that period, and just moving these guys around, giving them some more exposure.
Get used to those questions.
Not going anywhere. Potentially significant practices upcoming for the Browns' 5th-round pick. Shedeur Sanders now has these props posted at ESPN Bet. 550.5 pass yards, 3.5 passing TDs in his rookie season. All bets are void, though, if he does not play a snap this season. So real quickly, just start. Will he take a snap as a starting quarterback?
He'll take a snap,
okay.
Yes.
So he's live with these markets here. Would you go over or under?
I think first off, and we should note this as well, this is the only book where you can find props on Shedeur. No one else has hung anything yet. We pushed hard for the people. I would go over the passing yards, 550.5. Think of it like this. If I get 3 starts from Shedeur Sanders, can I get 186 passing yards per game? And if I can get that in 3 games, boom, I go over this total and we end up cashing. Now, that's only 3 games and that's only 186 yards per game. The thing about this is next year's quarterback class in the NFL draft, loaded. Klubnik, Arch Manning, Garrett Nussmeier, just a few names that could be in there. If you're the Browns and you're sitting on 2 first-round picks and you stink this year, I know, shocking to even think the Browns could struggle, but indulge me for a moment. Maybe Cleveland has a rough year. You could be looking at a great quarterback in next year's draft. But why would you pull the trigger if you have a good one now? You just spent 2 draft picks on Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. You got to find out what you have in these guys this season, which means you need to play them this season. If Joe Flacco is making 15 starts, those 2 picks went horribly wrong, and you are likely at the top of the draft where you can get somebody else, but you got to see what you have.
I tend to agree with you because it seems like the arithmetic that ESPN Bet Sportsbook put into here is over under 3.5 starts for Shedeur Sanders. Do you think that's about right? Because I think that's what they're telling us with these numbers, and I would go over that.
When you start working through everything, yeah, the touchdowns will align with that as well. Our own projection system at ESPN has him just under 1,000 yards. If you're up in the fantasy section, somewhere around 950 yards. And there are other projection systems as well that see him throwing for more yards than this. Now, these numbers are going to move, and they're going to be taken on and off the board because there's a lot of uncertainty here, but I'd go over 550.
The Twitter journos have been showing some good highlights from Browns practices with Shedeur so far, yet it's
Enough
early.
with the training camp stats. They're completely useless.
The Bengals have started their camp, and first-round edge rusher Shedeur Sanders has joined the team after signing his rookie contract last Friday. And that is good news on Stewart because that defense needed it. They could also use Trey Hendrickson. Joe, let's check in with Jeremy Fowler from Bengals camp. And I'll start by asking this, Jeremy. What is the team selling as the improvements they've made on that defense, which they need to improve to get back to the postseason?
Well, they're selling that they're going to be collectively better. They haven't done a ton as far as transactions. In fact, at a lot of positions where they lost players, they replaced them with cheaper options, and then they don't have Trey Hendrickson. So it is a bit of a tough sell. But I know they're really excited about their 2 rookies, Demetrius Knight, the linebacker from the 2nd round, and Shedeur Sanders, first-round pick, who in his 2nd practice back had back-to-back batted passes down and got the whole defense riled up. So he seems to be trending in the right direction. They just feel like with a new coaching staff, Al Golden, a defensive coordinator, and they have better depth across all 11 spots, that they're going to be a little bit better. Last year they were ranked in the 20s in a lot of the categories. They're hoping to improve that. Joe Burrow really just needs even an average defense for him to pick up the rest of the slack.
Speaking of Burrow, on his side of the ball last year, the offensive line allowed him to get sacked 48 times, which was tied for 4th most in the NFL. That's been a common theme throughout Burrow's career. Any reason to believe the offensive line is better this season?
Well, that's a complicated question because every year they do deal with this where across all 5 spots they're a little unsettled, and this year they have 2 guard battles. You know, they got Dylan Fairchild, the Georgia rookie mid-round pick that they're hoping can earn a spot at left guard. They have Cody Ford, the right guard, who's been around, kind of an NFL journeyman. Lucas Patrick, who's injured right now, that's the same. So they feel really good about their tackles and their center, Ted Karras, but the guard spot is the issue. But really, it comes down to this in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow knows he's going to throw the ball out. He's going to get rid of the ball when he needs to. And he's also willing to just hang in the pocket when he needs to for the big play to develop. And he's going to take some hits. They're sort of okay with that around here.
Jeremy Fowler checking in from Bengals camp. Happy camping to our buddy J-Bone. Cincinnati, by the way, minus 140 favorite to make the playoffs this season. The only other non-playoff team from last year favored to make it this year, the 49ers at minus 185. Now, you saw on that graphic that their win total sitting at 9.5. Joe, it opened ESPN Bet at 10.5, so it's actually come down one. What do you think of that number?
I like the move, and I'd go under the 9.5, but not for as much. If there's one thing, last year's Super Bowl, just an incredible performance from the Philadelphia Eagles against the Kansas City Chiefs. There's one thing it taught us. It's that bad offensive lines have problems and great defenses can win championships. Defense, offensive line. Bengals have neither of those things. Neither. And by the way, when you talk about, well, they spent on Chase and they spent on Higgins and they spent on Burrow, they had all those guys last year. They're not going to get any better. Burrow's coming off a career season and they missed the playoffs. They're a team that's only reached 10 wins 2 times in Burrow's 5 years. The offensive line gives up too many sacks, which could lead to an injury. Oh, by the way, Burrow's been banged up significantly in at least 2 of his 5 seasons. Question marks at the head coaching position as well, I think it's fair to say. Zach Taylor hasn't had these guys ready out of the gate the last few years. Maybe they correct that, but overall, I don't see 10 wins. It's something that since the NFL expanded to a 17-game regular season, you get about 12 teams per year that win 10 or more games. So it's definitely doable, but in that division, with that O-line and that defense, I'd be looking under or pass.
I agree completely. Plus 120 to miss the playoffs, attractive to me. The AFC is loaded with some depth. There's some up-and-comers. We're going to talk about New England. We're going to talk about the teams outside of the Chiefs in the AFC West. So I think I look at the problems that you pointed out and say, they've got an uphill battle to be a playoff team, even with that great offense through the air. I imagine if they're a 9-win team or less, Joe Burrow as an MVP is not a wise bet in your eyes?
See, that's the thing, and that's a great point because a lot of people like him for MVP. He's 6-1. Lamar Jackson's your leader, plus 550. Then you have Burrow and Allen sitting there at 6-1. Allen's going to win a lot of games. He's got an easy schedule.
Absolutely.
Jackson always wins a lot of games. You need to win a bunch of games to win the MVP award. Of the last 16 years, the MVP has been a 1 or 2 seed in 14 of those 16 seasons. And in the last 16 years, the MVP has won 12 or more games 13 times. That doesn't really fit the profile for Cincinnati this year, in my opinion. Again, defense, offensive line, there are going to be issues. Last year, he put up insane numbers,
almost
but the
5,000
wins prevented him from getting it. And I think the same thing happens again this year.
Agree. I think 2025 going to look a lot like 2024, for better with the offense and passing, and worse with that defense and O-line. Since odds opened back in March, we have seen the win totals for 5 different teams get bullish, moving up at least 1 game. The 2 biggest risers, the G-Men and the Raiders. Giants have moved up 2 full wins after opening with the lowest total of 3.5, but that was just for a hot second. All right, Tyler and Joe back with you here. Let's talk about those Giants. 5.5, still not a lot of wins, so where are you leaning right now?
They should have a good defense this season.
Oh, yeah.
They should have a good defense. So to see it go from 3.5 to 5.5, keep in mind that 3.5 number, I believe that was before the signing of Russell Wilson. So quarterback looked like a mess. Say what you want about Wilson, but he can get you something at the very least. So here we go. Defense should be good. I'm leaning under 5.5. I think the bet you see on the screen right there is the way to attack them. The last winless team at 5-1. If you think they're going to be bad, go all the way. I've got them as underdogs in each of their first 12 games this season.
Whoa.
Note week 5. That's the one where while ESPN Analytics has them favored, they are on the road against the Saints, and they have the Eagles as a look ahead on a Thursday night right after that. Now, the Saints should be terrible, but outside of that opportunity, there's not a whole lot there to get excited about for a win through the first 12 weeks. 13, you're at the Patriots, then it's a bye. That continues to extend you, so I think 5-1, that's the play with the Giants this year.
I like what you're doing there with the start to the season for the Giants. I think all teams on the left side of your screen you saw there, but the Saints were a playoff team a season ago. How about the Jacksonville Jaguars? Liam Cohen, now the new head man there. That's why perhaps the market's gotten bullish, going from 6.5 to 7.5 wins. Are you buying into that move?
This is a buy. I know some guys who jumped on the 6.5 when it came out. That didn't last very long. There's a lot to like here. 6th easiest schedule in the NFL, so there's going to be some opportunity. But you mentioned Liam Cohen, and that's the key. He might not be a great NFL head coach, but he's a hell of a quarterback coach and a very brilliant offensive line. Baker Mayfield last year in Tampa under Liam Cohen's tutelage had the best season of his career. Will Levis, remember him when he was awesome at Kentucky? Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator for the Wildcats when that happened. They improved the offensive line in free agency, notably with the signing of Patrick McCarry, who was with the Baltimore Ravens. It's not a great team. They still have a lot of work to do, but getting to 8 wins is certainly doable, given the coaching upgrade, the offensive upgrade. If we can unlock Trevor Lawrence, there's a lot more we can get out of this team. We've seen some of that in the past. 8 wins is there for the Jags this season.
I understand and respect the move at 6.5. I was willing to play it at 7.5. I'm jumping off. The concern for me is the offensive line. Liam Cohen had one of the best offensive lines in terms of talent and personnel to work with in Tampa Bay. Not the case with this Jaguars team. However, if he is as good as some people say he is up here, perhaps he can gloss over those weaknesses and help unlock Trevor Lawrence. Because I do still think Lawrence has the ability to play winning football. Just up to 7.5 for me, stay away. Tyler Joe back with you on ESPN Bet Live. The newest members of the Madden 99 Club have been announced. No repeats from last year for Madden 26. Jamar Chase, first Bengal ever to join the 99 Club. Reigning MVP Josh Allen also on the list of 99ers coming off his awesome season. 7 players got the highest possible rating. MVP favorite Lamar Jackson amongst them, as is Offensive Player of the Year favorite Saquon Barkley, fresh off 2K. Lane Johnson, love for the O-lineman. Maybe he should be your favorite to win the first ever Protector of the Year.
What is he listed as? There's no price? Just the disrespect.
Myles Garrett, defensively a 99er.
Only one defensive player. There's not a single
playing
secondary.
Video games. You want to dominate with defense? Come on. All right. Fair. We know when you are playing Madden, Joe, you want to use these players like Lane Johnson and Saquon Barkley. But are these players you want to bet on this season?
It feels goofy to say it, but you get this list and everyone gets excited, like who's not there, Patrick Mahomes, who should be there. It kind of gives you an opportunity to look at some guys who might be viewed as overvalued. Not to say they're not good, let's be very clear about that. But clearly, if Madden's valuing them as the absolute best in their position, there are other people that are thinking that way. Bookmakers, for example, and the numbers get inflated, there might be an opportunity to go the other way. Case in point, look at Saquon Barkley's numbers. Rushing, 1,400 yards. Now, he's an incredible running back, but he's gone over this number exactly one time in his 7-year career. Last season, which was a career year where they went deep into the playoffs and won the Super Bowl. Do we see something like this happening again? In the 4 years since the NFL moved to 17 games, 1,400 plus rushing yards has happened a grand total of 10 times. 10 times in 4 years. So I think, everything around Saquon, he deserves all of it, but I think it's inflated the prices and you should look the other way.
And I think you made a good point about some of those players who have maybe been a 99 before, who may provide a buy low opportunity. Maybe Patrick Mahomes is a better MVP bet.
That's a good point.
Maybe Tyreek Hill to lead the NFL in receiving yards. Had a down year last year, 1,700 each of the last 2 years. Maybe he could bounce back. He used to be a 99er.